On the internet, I find a Japanese myth that says if star-crossed lovers commit double suicide, they get reincarnated as twins, but I can't find a citation. I also can't figure out if the rebirth as twins is a punishment or a reward. I saw Elena in 2D before I saw her in 3D, a flattened image. Alex had broken up with her girlfriend and invited me to an LGBT film festival, and we each chose a program to see. I picked a documentary about bisexual invisibility, and she chose a collection of lesbian short films. We just wanted to watch ourselves, I guess, or we wanted to watch to see if we saw ourselves, like standing in front of a filmic full-length mirror. Elena's film was the first of the shorts program. It was an animated collage that mixed drawing, painting, photography, and film. The main character was a young girl growing up in a small Spanish town with a squiggly line inside her belly that was giving her pain. She didn't have any friends, and her classmates called her marimacho, Spanish for dyke. This slur appeared as letters on the screen. It was a silent film, punctuated by moments of despair, when she wanted to play with the boys but wasn't allowed to, when she was made to wear a dress and didn't want to. Later, a series of black dots appeared on a white background, and an invisible pen connected them, drawing the outline of her new adult body, curvy with breasts. Her short black hair sat on top of her head, like the dot of a Spanish upside-down exclamation point, saying, "I don't want this." Then, instead of a body, she was just an expectant face in a board game, the one where the object is to make pairs. A hand flipped up the tile next to her, and it was a woman. They smiled at each other, thinking they'd won, but the match was no good because the game only counted male-female couples. Again, her animated form floated in the ether of a white background. Now she was boyish in a hoodie and jeans. The squiggly line in her belly grew bigger and knottier, and she tried to compact it with her hands to keep it inside. The sound of static filled the auditorium. Finally, she reached deep into the mess of the knot and pulled it out like a splinter. The tangle was gone, her abdomen flat and empty. Everything was quiet, and I took my hands away from my ears. She watched the limp lines she'd pulled from inside her lying dead on the ground. Then they rose into the air and flew away like the birds we all drew as children. She turned and walked away from the camera, and I wanted to follow her, but it was over. As the credits rolled, her name came up. Elena. That was it. No second name. Singular and self-assured. I applauded alongside everyone else in the darkness, acutely aware of the chair I was sitting on, of my hands touching each other. There was heat in my face. I had a crush on a cartoon. How silly was that? But really, it wasn't the first time I'd swooned for a two-dimensional heroine. As an 8-year-old, I'd watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit hundreds of times just to see Jessica Rabbit slink around, pouting a Billie Holiday song. She'd turned me on. "I am Elena, and I come from Galicia," she said during the Q&A after the films. Her accent filled the auditorium, amplified by the microphone in her hand. I hung on the lisps she made when she said Galicia. She sounded like a child. Elena looked exactly like her avatar in the film, high contrast and luminescent. Her pale skin glowed against her orange tank top, and a flounce of wavy black hair slouched off the top of her head, exposing her ears, her chin, her neck. My own ears were obscured behind the feathery shag that hung past my shoulders. I ached for her naked ears to touch mine, and the weight of my hair to evaporate. Eric called from Maine. "You'll never guess who I was dancing with last night," he said. "You were dancing?" I said. The last time he'd danced was at our wedding. "Yeah, I love dancing now. Anyway, it was Janine Antoni. She's a visiting artist this summer, and she came in last night. She pulled up in a convertible and offered me a ride to the costume party in the Fresco barn. She was dressed like Frida Kahlo." Janine Antoni was the performance artist I'd told Eric about when we'd first met 10 years earlier. I couldn't believe he was in her car, in the presence of that hair she had used to paint the floor. It's not fair, I thought. It should be me in that car. But did I want to be the driver or the passenger? I miss performing, I'd often say. But maybe my definition of performance was too narrow. Maybe I was already performing without knowing it. Coupledom is performance art, says Phillips. But how does one learn what to do together? How to be, once again, two bodies in public, consistently together, guardians of each other's shame? "There was a sort of kissing orgy last night," Eric wrote on iChat. "A bunch of us went skinny dipping and everyone was making out. I asked if the painter was involved. No, he said. I was mostly making out with this other girl, but 2 guys tried to kiss me. I was excited by this turn.